Welcome back to the Deacon Hoover Radio Network. This is the Deacon of Real Estate podcast, starring Alex Deacon and featuring some clown shoes named Adam who happens to be speaking right now. So if guys, if this is your first time tuning in, please subscribe, like, comment, favorite, forward, whatever all the cool kids are doing on social media these days. We're on Twitter at Deacon Hoover. We're on Facebook, Deacon Hoover Real Estate Advisors. And make sure you're following us on iTunes.
No.
Advisors.
Yeah, it is Advisors.
It is Advisors.
I got a funny thing for you. I was just on my... this is Alex Deacon, by the way.
Alex Deacon! The star of the show! We're super serial, guys.
I just got an email. I hope this guy doesn't listen to this email. But anyway, he left a message. His name is Flava.
Flava?
So Ian, my partner's like... He sent the lead to one of our agents. And I emailed back just jokingly. I said, whoa, that's my client. Flava Flav.
I was going to say, yeah.
Flava Flav.
I was going to say, I didn't know.
Whoop, whoop. So Flava Flav. I don't know if Anthony, who we sent it to, is going to think I'm serious. Oh, that's Alex's client, Flava Flav. I better not call him.
So, see, I like this. We're already starting off on a light note today.
Wow. Where are we
good.
going with that?
Well, this one's going to be good because...
That's real helpful real estate advice. Thanks, Alex.
It is.
Moron.
Flava
Flav, ha.
How to set up the perfect email joke.
Yeah.
No, we're going to get into that kind of stuff today, guys. We've been, we hinted at this on the last podcast, as Alex just sings in the background. You guys have been listening to the great Alex Deacon's advice now for months. He has a very well-respected name here in the Pittsburgh area. I know that there's a lot of people outside of the Pittsburgh area that listen to our broadcast. And, a lot of times you might think, like, why should I listen to this guy? Or who is this Alex Deacon that calls himself the Deacon? And we did an episode last week, Alex, where we were talking about goal setting and, just setting goals and realistic goals and being realistic with yourself. And it was a little bit different than what we've done before, and there was a lot that I was able to take from it, being just the tech nerd that's kind of in this real estate world. And one thing that I've found fascinating with this real estate world is everybody has their own story on how they got involved, or everybody has their own passions on why they got involved with real estate, things that they like, reasons why they did it. We've talked about it before. Is it money? Is it status? Is it family? Is it belongings? Is it vacations? Whatever the case may be, real estate has solved. I don't want to say solved a lot of people's problems, but real estate has made people's lives, very, very good, very wealthy. Some people don't need it for that either. It's just that comfortability of living. It's a way of life. So, Alex, what we're going to do is you have 25 plus years of experience we're going on, correct?
Correct.
We're going to go back to the beginning, and we want to find out what got you into this, what keeps you involved in this, and what really, what was the spark that really said, you know what, this is kind of where I'm going to go for the rest of my life.
Okay, well, this is when I first started thinking about real estate. I was about 6. My parents would keep me in a closet underneath the steps, and it was dark, so I had a lot of time to think about where I wanted to go with my life. And
every once in a while,
please,
sir, more
and I'd piss in my pants because they wouldn't let me out. So,
oh god,
is that how far back you want to go?
We can go back that far, yeah.
Maybe 20 years further up.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Yeah, so how did you get into real estate? What were you doing when you decided, you know what, I'm going to try this out?
I mean, should we go past my psychiatrist days and my therapist, or do you want to?
I don't know. I'm still in those days, so I mean, we can still talk about that.
All right, okay, let's get serious now. Come on now.
This one, guys, obviously
we're going to get serious now.
Super serious.
So, I was a mechanic. Okay, I had a lot of hair back then too. It was like coming out of every pore of my head, which now I have very few hairs coming out, but it's all coming out of my chest and my back.
It just changed directions.
It's all good, but let's get serious here. So I got started. I was a mechanic. That's what I did. I was a mechanic out of high school, and
is it straight out of high school?
Straight out of high school. I went to school to be a mechanic. Then I was a mechanic because I wanted to race cars and go to drag strip and just it was a dream I had to just work on cars. I don't know. It was cool. I liked it. It was a good job. I could have made a great living doing it. And
what attracted you to cars and in racing? And
just I'm a guy. Some guys are attracted to football, cars. I was just I like cars.
For a living a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And so I got into that, and I guess about 6 years into that, a friend of mine who was working on cars next to me, so we call a car, well, you're working in your own bay. Mm-hmm. So he was working a bay next to me, with his lift and his toolbox, and we're always talking about stuff, and he's like, yeah, I just bought some real estate, and I'm like, oh, wow, really? Real estate? Dang, I'm just, I'm trying to pay my bills, and just do this next oil change and the brake job after that. And he's like, yeah, I bought took this course, and then Carlton Sheets, I think, this course he took. And he's buying real estate. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So that's what got me started. I don't know how that morphed into me buying my first building, but I went out and, man, I don't even know how I did this, to be honest with you. I bought a 3-unit building. So it was my first building I bought. I was probably like 26 or 25. And there's a 3-unit just up the street from my house. I was literally just driving around. I saw this for sale, so I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's a 3-unit. I'm going to call the agent. Agent was her first sale ever. And she was the selling agent, so she represented the seller and she represented me.
Oh, okay.
She was what they call dual agent. And it was a horrible experience. She's a super nice girl. I couldn't tell you anything about her, remember her name or anything, but she was nice. But she did not do a good job. So I bought the house on an FHA loan under the pretense I was going to live there. So you can get in. You can still do that today. If you're living in your primary residence, you can buy a 2 to 4 unit building under an FHA loan and get in for very little money down with the seller paying closing costs and stuff. Well, this girl didn't know that, so the seller paid none of my closing costs. And I didn't know that when you buy an FHA property, the mortgage is insured by the government. So there are certain requirements, like you can't have any peeling paint and this and that. The whole freaking house was peeling paint. So literally my mother, who was 65 at the time.
Oh, wow.
Maybe a little bit older, was helping me paint this entire house on the exterior, right? Which I never would have allowed anybody to do, because think of all the legalities and the liability there, right? What if I tripped and what if I fell or my mom got hurt on that property? It's that homeowner could have been sued and so on and so forth. Anyway.
Can you imagine in today's world, too?
Yeah, so we painted the whole house. Anyway, I bought the house. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm happy. I got 3 units. And, this was in September. And come November, December, I had a home inspection, too. I hired the worst home inspector on the planet. I think that was the name of his company.
Worst home inspector on the planet.
Yes, but I hired him because they were cheap. And I don't know why I hired him.
I thought that was ironic. Yeah, I thought it was an ironic name.
But these furnaces were so old. They were, ancient. And me being 25, I didn't know the freaking difference between an old furnace and a new furnace. It didn't matter to me. I was just happy to buy a 3-unit. So the first, literally, 2-3 months later, furnace stops working. Furnace guy goes there and says, these furnaces are shot. Both of them. Because the third floor was electric baseboard. These furnaces are shot. I hardly had any money to... I spent all my $8,000 or $10,000 on buying the place. So I don't know how I paid for it. I think I just put it on a credit card and we put 2 new furnaces in and I was off and running, and it wasn't a really good experience.
Say right out of the gate. So right out of the gate, you're probably second guessing everything.
Yeah, so that's why I preach: pick the right team, educate yourself, get a good mentor. I had none of that. I just had drive, and I saw my friend next door in the next bay next to me buying property. So I thought, shoot, I'm going to buy it. So I bought this property. It never made $1. It always lost money, but I was still happy. I was still ecstatic about it. I'm like, cool. I own property. None of my friends own property, so I'm pretty okay with that. Then I went and bought my own home. So we bought our actual own home. We lived in it. And next one I bought was a 6-unit, and I bought this with, I bought it with almost basically zero money down. Okay. So the owner wanted to sell, but it was. I asked the agent who I was dealing with. I met another agent. I said, I'd like to buy this, but I'd like the owner to be creative on the financing. So the owner held a mortgage for 10 years or something like that, and I think I put down like $3,000 or $4,000. But that $3,000 or $4,000 I put down with money I borrowed or I took it from a credit card or something. So I bought it zero money down. So I was pretty slick, right?
Right.
I was slick Rick, man. I was 27. I bought a place with zero money down, 6-unit. That was another doozy of an investment. Probably not the best one. It could have been a good one. I did all the work myself. I was there a lot. I I could have paid it off in 8 years, but instead, you read all these books where you leverage. So I leveraged the hell out of it, and I bought other properties with it. So that was when you could get loans on properties very easily. So as long as you had decent credit, even you didn't have the decent credit back then, but you could just keep getting loans and leverage yourself to the hilt. And that's why we had the mortgage crash in like 2006.
Right.
So I bought that. Then I got my license. I'm like, well, shoot, I'm going to get my real estate license. I might as well do this. I'll get paid to buy my own properties, represent myself, yada, yada, yada. So,
and what's interesting, not to cut you off, but already at this point, you've been hit with a lot of obstacles that probably would have scared people out of real estate and probably been like, you know what, it was worth a try, but maybe this isn't for me. And you still fought through all these things.
Yeah, I just think I was really freaking stupid, man. I think you have to be a little bit stupid and a little bullheaded and driven to make it in anything, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I stuck with it. So, I bought that. I got my real estate license. And then I started selling real estate and working full-time as a mechanic. I was doing that for about 6 months. And the guys who hired me said, hey, why don't you do this full-time? Because they like what they saw. I did it full time, and I fucking failed. Oh, sorry, I failed miserably. I made like $13,000 my first year, and I was making about $30,000 as a mechanic. So I had quit my job as a mechanic, jumped into this full time, made $13,000 before expenses, and it wasn't good. So I quit being an agent full time, and I went back to being a mechanic full time, and I was an agent part time. So the next year I made like $20,000. Next year I made like $40,000. Then I swapped it, and I did agent full-time and mechanic part-time. So I did that for about 4 years until I actually quit my mechanic's job. Cold turkey. Done. That was it after that. So I was doing really well. I was a top-producing agent. I was kicking butt. I was buying a lot of real estate. And back then, like I said, you could buy a lot of real estate with very little money down. And you could put creative deals together. You could walk out of closings with money. It was just incredible.
A different world, yeah. Yeah.
Different world. So it was good and bad. It was good if you knew what you were doing. It was bad if you didn't. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was able to manipulate a small amount of money into a massive amount of real estate holdings that where we're losing money. So at one point, I remember I was probably making $150,000 a year, maybe something like that, and maybe not even. That was probably with my wife's income too. And I was losing about $4,000 a month.
Wow!
So it was not good. People ask me like all the time. How's that possible? It's easy, bro. I mean, I bought properties that lost money.
Right? Yeah.
So you buy enough of them,
they add up quick.
$200 here, $400 here, $1,000 here. It ends up being $4,000 a month.
It adds quick, yeah.
So then I had to sell a lot of those. I had to sell some of the good properties because those are the ones that had equity in them, so I could stay afloat.
Okay.
Yep. So like that 3-unit I owned and that 6-unit I owned, I had to keep those because I had those leveraged at hilt and they sucked, but I was stuck with them. So I had to sell some good properties, which I wish I had today, but I don't. So whatever. And I paid off my debt. I never had to not make a mortgage payment. Never had to fall behind on anything. I was blessed in that realm. So. What's next? I guess about 10 years later. So I've been doing this for about 10 years, right?
Okay.
So I got licensed in 95, and I've been doing it for about 4 years. Then I was full-time agent. Then I had maybe amassed about 70 units or something like that, and they were just losing money. So I'm about 10 years into this, about 7 or 8 years into this, and I'm kicking butt as an agent, top producing agent. Top 5% of agent population as far as volume and stuff like that. But my properties are losing money, so I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
Yep. I'm not really amassing any fortune. I'm just running the rat race. I'm just running that
kind of stuck in a maze, so to speak.
Yep. So at some point, and I'm still making mistakes today, but at some point, I just remember being in the basement of one of my units, and it was leaking from the ceiling, and I didn't know a whole lot about anything back then. It was just leaking water and poop and you name it. It was just freaking leaking. It was so
it's a reality.
So
it was
big,
leaking.
right? Leaking poop on my head. So I'm just